everyone, I am super excited about this video. Today I'm reviewing the entire Rae Morris collection brush set. So it's 28 brushes. This is going to be a long video, just a warning, but I have received a lot of questions, so hopefully this video answers those. If you are a brush nerd like me, I will be doing a corresponding blog post where I'll talk about all the additional info and the fibers. But in this video, I really want to focus on the shapes and the functionality of the brushes because I think that's what really sets them apart. When I'm using them, I can tell that they've been created by someone who understands faces and understands makeup. The shapes are absolutely ingenious. P.S. If you are unfamiliar with Rae Morris, then do a Google. She is Australia's best makeup artist, author, makeup director at L'Oreal Paris. It's kind of a big deal. Ooh, wow. Okay, so let's get cracking. The first thing you will notice about the brushes is that the base is magnetic, and this is the Rae plate. Now, whether you like this feature or not, totally comes down to preference. I love it when I'm filming because everything's really easy to see and to grab, but not so much if I'm storing my brushes flat because they do have the tendency to stick together at the base. Okay, in no particular order, let's start with the 22 Pro powder. This is a very soft, fluffy, tapered powder brush. I think that it's easy to over apply powder, and that's when things start to get cakey. This brush applies powder in the finest veil. It's impossible to over apply. It really moves with the contours of the face so that you don't disturb any of the foundation underneath. I really like the taper because it means you can easily get in around the nostrils and the small crevices of the face. I also love this for diffuse application of bronzer. It's ideal for those who tend to be heavy-handed. The fan highlighter, this doesn't look as soft as it is. It's really soft. I tend to use this one for dusting away fallout or highlighter application, obviously. If you're working with a really shimmery highlighter, I'm looking at you, Mary Luminizer, fan brushes ensure that you don't look like a disco ball. They're also really handy for very bright or pigmented blushes because you can build that flush really slowly. The ultimate cheekbone number 3. You guys know I am obsessed with this shape. I have been using it since before I started making YouTube tutorials, and that is the older style that you would have seen before. Now, the shape and the function of this brush is absolutely phenomenal. You place the contour on the shorter bristles, position the brush at the outer cheekbone, and draw inwards. The shorter bristles deposit the product, and then the longer bristles blend the product, all in that one swift movement. It's truly the easiest way to contour your cheekbones. Now, when compared to the older style, the new one has a thicker profile and it's slightly fluffier, whereas this one was a bit denser. So the new one offers a more diffuse, softer contour if that is your preference. If you would prefer a sharper contour, the Flawless shader is that little bit denser and more tapered towards the end. So take a little bit of contour powder just on the tip and lightly shade underneath the cheekbones. This one is also fantastic for shading around the hairline or underneath the jaw for a really defined jaw. Definitely one to check out if you share my love for strong bone structure. If you're looking for a sharper contour, yet again, the square Kabuki is bliss. If I'm going for an editorial contour, really razor sharp cheekbones, defined jawline, perhaps a slimmer nose, this is my tool of choice. Particularly good for cream contour products because it's very dense and you have a lot of control. It's also tapered enough that you can use it to slim down the sides of the nose. I've used it to clean up fallout underneath the eyes. And one purpose that I really love for this brush is if I've created a winged out eyeshadow, I'll take this brush and run it back and forth underneath that eyeshadow to really perfect that angle. It's a really fantastic finishing brush. So just to reiterate, for the softest contour, the ultimate cheekbone, for a moderate contour, the Flawless shader, and for epic sharp contours, the square Kabuki. The 27 Radiance. Rae recommends this for all types of foundation, so just dot the foundation on the face and buff for a really airbrush finish. It does offer a beautiful finish, and foundation is applied in 30 seconds flat. It is the fastest foundation application ever. What I will say, and this goes for all dense face brushes, it's a pain to clean. Especially if, like me, you wash your face brushes after every use. So for that reason, I tend to use it most for bronzing up the pale parts of my neck and chest, or adding a little bit of shimmer to the décolletage area. It's really beautiful for that. The Deluxe Kabuki and the Mini Kabuki. A few brands make these, but I wholeheartedly prefer the Rae Morris versions. Here is the Hakuhodo counterpart. In this case, the Rae Morris versions are much softer. Kabukis are really versatile. I tend to use the Deluxe Kabuki for blush application, best for sheer to moderately pigmented blushes because it's quite a dense brush, so you'll get a really good color payoff. The Mini Kabuki I tend to use if I have overdone it, got a little bit carried away with my contour, which happens more than I would like to admit, and I need to blend certain areas of the face. I have heard that people like this for contouring. I've seen it used a few times on YouTube, so I tend to prefer kind of slimmer, flatter brushes for contouring, but it comes down to preference. There you go. The medium oval shadow. Do you believe me when I say that I didn't own a big flat eyeshadow brush? I always looked at them in store and thought, boring. I just can't do my eyeshadow without this brush now. I use it mostly to lay a flesh shade from the lash line to the brow before I add any colored shadows. It's got this tapered tip, which means that you can use it to really carve out the underside of the brow, which ups your brow game, but it also conceals any kind of redness on the brow bone. My brow bone is always red. Yeah, the number 11 has made it into my must-have brushes. If I'm doing my makeup at my vanity, I will get up, travel across the house, come to my studio to pick up this brush. I don't know how I did eyeshadow without it. The Deluxe Oval Shadow is very similar to the Medium Oval Shadow, but it's just that touch bit bigger. I use them for the same purpose, and considering that I love this kind of shape so much, I'm really thrilled to own both. The Deluxe Pro Blender. This is a larger version of the previous two brushes, and I tend to use this one mostly for the face, namely setting the under eye concealer. Again, that pointed tip makes it so easy to get in around the tear duct and the small crevices of the face. I also love this for blush application, particularly if you have small features and you want a small blush placement to match. So I just pick up some blush on the flat end and tap and swirl on the apples of the cheek. Perfectly blended blush every time, blush. Okay, let's talk about the point shader family. This is the detail point shader, the medium point shader, and the deluxe point shader. I've used these in a heap of recent tutorials, generally in conjunction with each other. As you can see, they're pointed at the end, so if you use a really light hand, you can sketch out some really awesome graphic shapes. But if you add a little bit more pressure, the surrounding bristles will blend the product so you don't have lines of demarcation. I find these pointed brushes to be fantastic if you have hooded eyelids or perhaps heavy eyelids. It really allows you to sketch out a new socket or recede any puffy areas. The detail point shader is also fantastic for work on the lower lash line. The Deluxe Round Shader. This is a rounded and large crease brush. It's super fluffy and super soft. The best brush for transition eyeshadows. I use it first to start my gradient, and then I'll pick it up last for a final blend. This is eyeshadow for dummies. Legitimately, you could achieve a perfect gradient with your eyes shut. It's an absolute must for me, one of my favorites, and I would recommend this to everyone, regardless of eye shape or eye size. The Creme Shadow Shader. I know this brush is not clean, let's not judge, these brushes are well loved. As the name suggests, this is created for cream eyeshadow. As you can see, it also comes to a point, and I tend to prefer flatter eyeshadow brushes for buffing out cream shadow. I do really love this for under eye concealer because it's got the perfect shape, it's got that taper, and it's a synthetic fiber, so it doesn't eat up all your product. The Lash Line Smudger. This is designed to be used for intricate work around the eyes or for smudging out the lashes. I do use it for that, but the point of contact is actually not that narrow, so I'll only use it if I'm really smoking out that lower lash line quite far. My favorite way to use this is actually for foiling eyeshadows and pigments. Because it's got that small size, you can really get a perfect central lid highlight or inner tear duct highlight. It really smooths on foiled pigments, no choppiness or chunkiness. Yay for experimenting. Let's talk about the liner brushes. You might have noticed that in the past, I haven't really used gel liner in my tutorials. The reason being, I never really clicked with a liner brush. When I discovered Rae's 3 liner brushes, it was like I discovered a whole new makeup world, and I'm so excited to go out and buy all the colored gel liners. All 3 eyeliner brushes exhibit the perfect balance of flexibility and stiffness, no irritating stray hairs, perfect length, perfect taper. I legitimately adore all 3. The perfect liner is fabulous for really fine, precise eyeliner. The angled precision bent liner. This one is fantastic if you have long lashes that frequently obscure your view of the lash line. It's also great for beginners. And the Deluxe eyeliner is fabulous for really thick eyeliner or cat eye. It really cuts the time and effort in half. Eyeliner brushes are personal. As I said, you really have to click with your liner brush. But for me, the Rae Morris eyeliner brushes have just revolutionized my makeup life. The mascara applicator. Now this is not a tool that everyone is going to use every day, but if you are a makeup artist or even a makeup enthusiast, this tool can really save the day. For example, recently I did a white eyeliner look and I managed to get white pigment really ingrained into the base of my lashes, unavoidable. A regular mascara wand would have been too large to access the base of the lashes and I would have ruined my eyeliner. So I took some product on the end of this tool and just really combed through the lashes, really aiming at the base, and it completely covered up the white. Now, same story goes for certain pigments and glitters that can make their way down onto the lashes. Also, obviously, it's fantastic if your mascara has unexpectedly gone clumpy and you really need to reseparate the lashes. The brow definer. This is a really stiff, angled brow brush. It's synthetic, so it's perfect for your Anastasia dip brows and such because it doesn't get floppy when wet. Perfect for creating the illusion of individual brow hairs because it's really, really slim. And it's also fantastic for smudging out your eyeliner into a wing. I did that in my Easiest Wing Liner tutorial, shameless plug, I'll link it somewhere here. Yeah, it's a fantastic one if you find that brow brushes are generally too floppy for you because this one's really stiff and it holds its shape. The 18 brow brush. This is a firm and really slim brow brush, surprise, surprise. I tend to use this with a bit of hairspray and brush up the eyebrows if I want that really brushed up look, which I always do. It's very vogue. I also use it for an alternate purpose. And actually, this is a funny story. I did a tutorial recently where obviously my baby hairs were stealing the show because a few people commented and said like, oh, I'm so glad that you have baby hairs. It makes me feel better about my own. Is this a thing? I always thought the baby hairs were cute. But anyway, if I'm doing a really sleek ponytail, I'll get a bit of hairspray on this brush and just clean away the flyaways just so that I get a cleaner looking hairline really. But there's nothing wrong with baby hairs. The Rae Morris lip brush. All of my favorite lip brushes are square, and this is no exception. A square end allows for a defined cupid's bow with no effort at all. X marks the spot and voila. In particular, this lip brush is very slick. There's not a hair out of place. I'd recommend it if you're partial to square lip brushes, and if you haven't tried a lip brush, definitely do so. You'd be surprised what a big difference they can make in creating a really polished and long-lasting lip. The 20 concealer brush, a slick and synthetic concealer brush that doesn't absorb any product. I use this to dot concealer underneath the eyes and on any blemishes, and then I'll sort of blend out with a finger. It's also fantastic for crafting a really crisp lip line or perhaps cleaning up your winged eyeliner. It's a pretty standard concealer brush, very functional. The foundation contour is an angled synthetic that's ideal for mapping out the contours if you're into that whole Kim K contour and highlight. I tend to use it most for foundation actually. I've always been a fan of paddle brushes. Paddle brushes are ideal if you have flaky skin because it really smooths the texture down as opposed to buffing motions which can kind of lift any flakiness upwards. So love that one for foundation. The liquid foundation is a duo fiber stippling brush, and this one in particular is sturdy and it's very dense. So you can use a buffing motion if you like because the bristles hold their shape very well. This is so much better than all the other stippling brushes in my collection. Here is a MAC 187, which is a really irritating brush for lack of a better word. It's floppy and it sheds like crazy and I don't like it. This one does offer a very airbrush even finish. I have used this for cream blush before. It is a little bit big for the apples of the cheeks, but I love it with cream bronzer like the Chanel Soleil de Tan. I don't even know what they're calling it anymore, but it's beautiful for those kind of products. The 21 Mineral Buffer. This is a very dense flat top buffing brush. I'm actually not big into mineral foundations, but I love this for powder foundation when I'm in a rush. That flat top really amps up the coverage of any powder product. I'm prone to a lot of redness around the nostrils, so to access that area, I will place a bit of powder foundation on the side and just swish that around the nose. The small parts of the face are really easy to access. I also love this as a final blend brush. So when my makeup's all done, I'll just run this all over the face just to make sure that the bronzer and the blush and the highlight and the contour are really seamlessly blended. Woo! That is all 28 brushes. I'm actually going to detail my top 5 now, but I will say that I'm thrilled to have tried the entire set because my favorite brushes are in fact not ones that I would have chosen personally if I had picked 5 at the counter. I learned a lot, I think, through these brushes, and I think that's testament to Rae's expertise. So if you have been very good this year and you're up for a splurge, then I would say definitely put the collection on your Christmas wish list. Wink, wink, significant others. But if you just like to dip your toes, I'm going to give you my 5 favorites. The 22 Pro Powder, so versatile, so soft, so fluffy. The medium oval shadow, life-changing, can't be without it. Any one of the liner brushes, don't make me choose, I love them all. The Deluxe Round Shader 7.5. Eyeshadow for dummies. A perfect gradient every single time. And my 5th and final favorite is the number 5 Flawless Shader because cheekbones. I hope this helped you guys with your wish list. If you know someone that is looking into the Rae Morris brushes, then definitely share this video and spread the love. Do check out the blog post for additional photos and additional info and all that nerdy brush stuff. I hope you all have a wonderful day and I will speak to you very soon. Bye bye.